as well. And that's gone live now. So Samantha, you should be able to see that coming up on the Community Connections page. Just give this one more sec. Okay, I think we're live over there and we are recording. So with that, I'd like to officially welcome everybody to the first Community Connections Forum. We have a lot of people here on the Zoom. At this point, we already have 3 full pages of little Zoom icons, which is outstanding. And I suspect we're going to have other people joining us as we go. A little background on this forum. So, since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, we've had several community-facing forums that many of us have participated in. Some of us in more than one. Some geared towards connecting nonprofits, some geared towards emergency response, some geared toward community development, a variety of different places. Along with that, we have had in our community for many years now a forum that has ceased to exist that many of you might remember. That was the Healthy Collaborative. And Director Bagley and I, along with Betsy Hood, have had conversations over the past, say, year or so about reactivating that forum so that we have, a place where we can all meet on a quarterly basis. And so the idea grew from that. And this is really an initiative around creating resilience in our community. So we've brought on board a number of partners to make this possible, and I would like to recognize and mention those at this point who have become partners, anchors in the Community Connections Forum. In addition to United Way, we have the Greater Nashua Regional Planning Commission. I see Jay there, thank you very much. We have the City of Nashua and a couple of different departments, including the Department of Emergency Management under Justin Cates and the Department of Public Health and Community Services under Bobby Bagley. Thank you both very much. We have all 3 regional chambers of commerce that are served by the Greater Nashua Public Health Region. That includes the Greater Nashua Chamber of Commerce, the Merrimack and Sohegan Valley Chamber of Commerce, and the Hudson Chamber of Commerce, all as anchor organizations. And finally, I'd like to recognize and thank Southern New Hampshire Health and Solution Health, as well as St. Joseph's Hospital and Covenant Healthcare for becoming partners in this initiative. So we're pretty excited about where this is going. What we're going to do is, for today's agenda, is really 2 things, and that's what our goal is. Frankly, every time we meet is to do 2 things. One is to give people the opportunity to build their Rolodex. Now, I'm an old person, so I use the word Rolodex. Some of you might not know what that means. Some of you might not even know what a business card is. But a Rolodex being the mental capacity for us to know when an emergency strikes, when an urgent need strikes, that we all know innately in our souls, who is the person to talk to? Who should I be reaching out to? Who can I connect to help solve these problems that I'm seeing? And that's the idea. One part of this, it's one part networking so that we build that capacity over time. And the second part is bringing people back for some meaningful discussion about very significant topics of the day. So the anchor partners have had a couple of meetings for planning this, and today's theme is education and family and emergency preparedness. And it seemed, given where we are with the state of the COVID pandemic response within our community and where we're at with regards to school reopenings coming soon, that those seem to be appropriate topics. When we meet again in November, our theme will be economic and financial stability. When we meet in February of next year, our theme will be environment and infrastructure and community development. And when we meet next June, a year from now, the theme will be health, safety, and preparedness. So we're going to, every time we meet, have roughly 45 minutes or so of presentations by community experts, local leaders. And then after that, we're going to have a rapid fire round robin introduction section. This is what I'd like for you to think about during the presentations, is how can you introduce yourself and your organization and your program and the work that you're doing and anything that you think is meaningful for this group to know about in 30 seconds or less. So I'm going to be really strict with the timer when we get to that, because with 40, 50 people on the line, we're not going to be able to have people go more than 30 seconds. So try and keep that in mind. And I'm going to be kind of probably really rude about that, allow you to speak. And when we hit 30 seconds or so, probably mute you again. So it's just going to be for the purpose of getting everybody in. I would like to, at this point, introduce one of our AmeriCorps Emergency Management Team volunteers. That's Corinne Prestia, who's on the line with us. And she's going to talk a little bit about the logistics of the meeting, how we'd like to handle question and answer and discussion. And then she's going to introduce our first speaker, who is Pedro Altagracia. Pedro, I saw you somewhere on here. If you could just tell me, are you going to need me to share my screen with you for the purposes of presentation, or are you just going to go from what we're doing?
Hopefully everyone is a good listener, because I think that the information that I have is pretty easy to digest verbally.
Okay.
No worries on a PowerPoint, but thank you.
Sounds great, Pedro. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Corinne. And again, thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Community Connections Forum.
Thank you so much, Mike. As Mike Appleberg said, I am an AmeriCorps member working with the Office of Emergency Management, and I'm here to explain just a bit of the ground rules and how submitting questions will work and logistic things like that. So we ask that when you are not speaking, if you could please mute your microphones. That's very important, especially because we are recording live. We don't want interruptions mid-presentation, and we don't want any background noise, as it could make it hard to hear for others. We'd really appreciate that. Also, as Mike said, this is recording on Facebook, so please don't say anything that you wouldn't want said on the internet forever. If you would like to submit a question during a presentation, Tara Murphy has just posted in the chat the links. You can submit your question through these links. And please also fill out the attendance link that was posted there as well, so we can keep track of who is on the call. We will be taking your questions and moderating them, so please keep that in mind. And I believe that is it for me. I will now introduce Pedro Altagracia, who is our first speaker.
Pedro, the floor is yours.
All right, cool. So hello, everyone. As mentioned before, my name is Pedro Altagracia. Very briefly, I'm a community engagement coordinator for New Futures out of Concord. Greater Nashville is one of my regions, but the responsibilities of my work take me to North Country, Greater Sullivan, and Upper Valley. So, and even sometimes out to the Seacoast. So I'm pretty much statewide. And on that subject, just very briefly, it's very important that I just give a very two-sentence elevator pitch about what New Futures is. We're a public health nonprofit organization that specializes on advocacy and public health policy. And my work is twofold. During the legislative session, we are trying to recruit advocates to speak on public health concerns that are very specifically attached to their regional communities. And then during the summer, we're trying to build up advocacy. So we provide trainings at no cost to help constituencies navigate through the legislative process, because it can be very, very tough. But with 426 legislators, it's, the legislative process and legislative body is very, very accessible. So we're just trying to prompt a bi-directional relationship where legislators use their constituents as valuable resources of information for lived experiences, and just giving narratives to the data that they're being provided from either lobbyists or nonprofit agencies or state agencies. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, just really quickly, two matters. So one of the things in terms of the theme of the meeting, I think it's very important to highlight that in the intersection of emergency preparedness, family, and education, there's something that we had advocated for in the last year and a half that is very important to this intersection, and that's remote testimony. And amid the pandemic considering that everything has moved virtually. New Futures, even before the pandemic happened, we were trying to advocate for providing greater access to geographically disadvantaged communities, whether it be in North Country, in Nashua, just outside of a comfortable traveling radius from the State House, an opportunity to be present and give testimony to public health concerns or just about anything by giving them access remotely from their homes and being able so that they can overcome challenges that people who are at the whim of a lot of the issues that are being advocated for at the State House. Some of them cannot generate enough time to, take off work because it's such a short notice. The legislative process and legislative calendar, as far as public hearings are concerned, they come out in very weird times. So sometimes families would have to quickly, for example, the calendar is released for public hearings on a Thursday and for the next week. Families just cannot gather enough time, cannot organize childcare options. They cannot take time off work without it being kind of approved in such short notice. So we're trying to, and also we live in New Hampshire, where 10 months out of the year, there's snow on the floor. So we're really trying to be considerate of who has the actual ability to get to the State House to testify on their own lived experiences and also have these lived experiences heard so the policy change reflects those concerns. So in the last year, there was a House Bill 1333 or 1330. I'll make sure to get that number to you guys, where we were advocating for just that. We were really hoping that we can build an infrastructure to provide remote testimony locations for places up in North Country, even Nashua, to really accommodate to those folks who have these lived experiences, but can't make it to the State House to share their concerns. And these same concerns would be pivotal to kind of having legislators change their minds on certain things so that they can, make the appropriate change in policy and in the culture of New Hampshire to accommodate these families and their lived experiences. That's one thing that we want to do, especially now with the pandemic. Everyone is very concerned that even with our legislative body, the average age is that elderly and vulnerable population. We want to make sure that we provide and keep the legislative process, which I would say is kind of old school. We want to, upgrade it. We want to make sure that families who can, at home can access public hearings without having to give up hours out of their day or perhaps not being able to give up income to go to the State House. So that's something that we want to kind of just pitch out there. That's something we're going to really be on top of this year, considering that COVID-19 has really, have everyone kind of scatter away like cockroaches when the lights come on. We want to make sure that people have their concerns heard, in particular when we're trying to address gaps that are often intentionally or unintentionally left. So we want to make sure that if you're in North Country and there's a snowstorm, which sometimes really happens within a day, that you're still able to hop in on a public hearing, provide your testimony and share your lived experience without having to be physically present at the State House. And that not only applies for people who are far away, but people who quite literally just can't make it there because of childcare, because of income reasons, because of transportation. We're really trying to open this up for all kind of those lived experiences. That being said, one of the other things that I wanted to surface is that we are being intentional in our strategic planning stages at New Futures to hear directly from the constituents. So we have kind of put together one of the survey things that I wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was like losing time. We put together a survey that directly, provides insight from the feedback we're getting from constituencies and how we're going to select our campaign priorities. New Futures has a lot of stake when it comes to providing advocacy on certain public health issues. And we have a great network of partners, and we would hate to select our campaign priorities without hearing from direct constituencies. Specifically when we're trying to be more equitable and intersectional in, the way that we approach legislation and just approach advocacy in general, we want to hear from direct care providers and people and clients and people at the ground exactly what's really happening to them. So we're sending out the survey without much prompt. We want people to just give us what is the top concern in their minds, whether it be reopening of schools, whether it be reproductive rights, whatever it may be. We want to be intentional about what it is that's really bothering and concerning a lot of constituencies regionally all over the state, and have our campaign priorities that we select reflect those concerns and start organizing around them when the legislative session comes next year. And we're starting to do this right now. We also are planning to do listening sessions where we provide feedback from the surveys back to those same communities. And then, we have another listening session where they can give us feedback on that feedback. So we're really trying to be intentional here about hearing exactly what it is that's the most concerned issue topic for these regions, in particular Greater Nashua being such a diverse population. There's going to be a diverse plethora of different concerns. We want to be more intentional about reflecting those concerns in Greater Nashua, so we want to hear from those people directly. So I'll share the survey link one more time. We've had great responses so far from Greater Nashua and other regions like North Country, but considering that we're moving more remotely, we want to make sure that those concerns are heard so that we kind of strategically organize to get these bills passed so we can make the legislative process accessible for all legislators and constituents, but also hear concerns that are reflective of concerns with COVID-19 and the pandemic.
So thank you very much, Pedro. That was a really good overview, and we really appreciate everything that New Futures is doing. I'm not sure what sort of questions have been entered via the survey or by Facebook or in the chat itself. But if anybody has a question that's come in that way, I'll give it maybe a couple seconds to percolate. And if nothing is there, then we'll move to our next speaker, who is Amanda Goodwin. Okay. Well, if something does come up, please feel free to post it in the chat or post it to the links that we've put out there, or on the Facebook if you're listening by that way. The Facebook links are live as well. So our next speaker is Amanda. Amanda, I have made you a co-host to this event. So if you'd like to share your screen, you can certainly do that. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Early childhood education is a super hot button topic right now as it relates to reopening in particular, and so we'd love to hear from you about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Sorry if there's if there's any delay. I'm getting a little bit of start and stop on my end, but for people that are up on the screen, if you could hear me, can you either just put your hand up or give a thumbs up so that I know? Okay, awesome. Such good listeners too. Thanks so much. Okay, and then I will do my best to follow with any questions in the chat that's on Zoom. And if I miss something on Facebook or something, I'll ask one of the moderators to maybe put it in chat so I can address it. Again, my name is Amanda. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Little Sprouts. So we operate 37 early education and preschool centers across New England, with a few directly in New Hampshire. What I'm going to talk about today is how during this time, a big part of our response to both of the pandemics that are going on right now, both the viral one and the racial one, has been in having an extreme focus on putting our educators first. And how do we work to give them what they need and protect them in order to have high quality care for our kids. So I'm going to share my screen now because I do have a presentation that I'll put up. Hold on, bear with me just a second. Yay, okay. And I'm sorry if my email pops up. Everyone can see screen, yes?
Yep, it's perfect.
Great. Awesome. All right, so as you can see, we Little Sprouts is our main brand. We also operate in Vermont as Heartworks, Steamworks, and Loveworks, and in Connecticut as Child World Academy and Building Blocks Early Learning Centers. I'm going to just share with you this quick piece that we put together that really speaks to what we think is the power of educators and community, especially now. Again, once I play this, if you can't hear it, if someone just gives me a thumb down, I'll know it's not working.
Yeah, we can't hear the sound.
Oh. If can you hear me? Yes, but you can't hear the sound.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Well, this will be, and I'll share it afterwards then. Fail one, it happens. Move on, sorry about that. So again, our focus is, has been to keep educators first. So we think that the only way that we can sustain high quality care is having the right leaders in the right places at the right time, which is especially challenging now, in order to complete our mission to help our youngest learners thrive and grow. We have really at this time figured out kind of three consistent focuses or kind of moral compasses in order to invest in early educators directly. The first is under the guise of social emotional wellness. For those within early education, we talk about the importance of social emotional wellness for kids all of the time. We don't so much talk about what that means for adults. And are we as adults who are also living through trauma, making sure that we're putting in practices of our own social emotional wellnesses so that we can actually model the behaviors that our kids need now more than ever. Part of feeling confident and secure is very much rooted in having consistent and predictable communication, which also includes trusted feedback channels and then clear change. Each of the things that you'll see, and I've shared my slides with the team that can send out to everybody here after. Everything that's blue is linked to an example of this. So for example, here, we didn't just say, okay, we want to make sure that we have a focus on adult social emotional wellness, but we actually went and prior to opening, during our 3-month closure, we had gone in and built a complete packet for all of our educators to focus on questions and anxieties that they could have upon returning to school in times of COVID. What would it mean for them personally, for them professionally, and what were some strategies they could use to recognize and flag when things felt out of control and like they didn't know what was coming next, and how they might be able to gain support both through the organization and from themselves during that. So this was an example of our adult social emotional guide that we kind of put together as a reference for all of our in-school employees that they received more than a month. Actually, I think it was more like 2 months before coming back to work, with just explanations of what we could do during this intense and complete time of change. I'm gonna just close this. This is when you learn that I have far too many things open on my computer to be doing all of this at once. Another example of the consistent and predictable communication. Again, sometimes like simplicity can be a superpower, right? And we realized that during times of closure, it was important that we created a regular communication schedule for every employee that they could depend on hearing from us. This is an example of the newsletter that went out last week, but since the week we closed, no matter what, all of our employees hear from us every week, and that comes with an opener from our CEO with a direct update of anything that might be of the greatest importance right now. With this one, you'll see we launched a second iteration of our employee survey, which I'll get into in a minute. And then we also have highlights from all of our operations, human resources, enrollment and recruitment, any of our at-home learning or digital education that we might be doing. This is just a way we found that when we want to talk about safety in a time in which safety has become so personal and reflective of an individual's kind of definition of that word, we wanted to identify places where we could undeniably create safe spaces. And consistent communication and transparency is something that we can control as an organization. So we've used that, you know, not just in making every decision, but ensuring that people who are doing this critical work in the field can at least feel secure that where they are going to work and who they're working with is truly engaged and connected to what they're doing every day. Again, with our focus on social emotional wellness and kind of what that means, we have dedicated people on our staff that are hyper focused on employee experience and checking in with all 1,100 of our employees across New England and what's kind of coming up for them personally and professionally. One of the things we created, which again, you can hyperlink to here, but for the sake of time, I won't go through everyone, is we created this growth zone experience. It's actually an 8-week daily simple and accessible step through of ways in which to check in with yourself and each other for 8 weeks consistently so that you can track and mark your own growth. It also provides really clear channels in it on how our educators can provide feedback, not just to the people that they report to, but also anonymously through channels and parties that we've set up outside of whom they report to. So it's not just a confidence in your direct report, but it's really creating a channel for you to go to if you've got questions or you've got anxieties or you've got thoughts that maybe you don't want to go to the person that you directly report to for, not because you don't trust them, but because you're kind of so unnerved about what the current situation is, that it could feel safer going somewhere else first. And we gathered that from, you know, talking to our own people throughout this closure, that it was something that felt really helpful. The other thing that's in here is the importance, obviously, something that doesn't happen enough in early education is that these jobs far too often come without options of full health benefits. And especially now, that doesn't seem like a reasonable or acceptable way to move forward. So, you know, we're fortunate to be able to offer full health benefits to everyone who works with us. And then we've also have provided ways throughout COVID to extend and secure health benefits, regardless if employees have returned back to work or not. Again, and what can we do to provide safe places? This staying connected, no matter what, seems like our driving focus. So in addition to our weekly newsletter that goes out to everyone every week, no matter what, during closure, within, I think, the first 6 weeks, we made sure to put out a complete employee survey. Again, if you want to afterwards, you can link to it in here. We're sharing the complete results with anyone who wants it directly from the field, from those who work in the field, what their concerns were and feelings were about COVID and returning, and what they might need to see happen in order for us to understand what were apprehensions about coming back. Now that our locations have been open, we've been reopening them since the middle of June. We've relaunched that survey to check in to make sure that we have an idea if our people working directly in the field have received all of the support they need. And if not, where are we lacking and where can we provide greater guidance or relief? And then our ongoing and updated training. So it's no surprise that everyone in the field of early education, and I think everyone in the field of education, will have to almost relearn the way in which they do everything. We had set up a schedule that made sure none of our staff came back to work without prior to having, they had a full week's worth of training with no students first. And then their first week back was only a 3-day week, with Monday and Friday, again, reserved for preview and postmortem of what were the new changes that went into place at each school, what felt good, what didn't, what needed further updating, and what feedback could we provide both to our organization, our own schools, and to the state at large. This ongoing and updated training, one thing that we found out through going through, I can't even count how many hours of training collectively. We found that people in the field felt really good with having a quick and easy way to review what they had learned and to keep up with it. So we actually created a 54, it's really long, but we created a 54 question quiz that teachers and leaders could go back to whenever they wanted to kind of gamify the experience and keep up with what they had learned, and see if that helped them feel like, again, more in control about the changes that were being made. And turns out this quiz was super helpful. It built confidence, not just within staff, but camaraderie among it when they would kind of go and see the rankings and the scores of each other. They could opt in to do that if they wanted to. The other biggest learning, I think, for early ed with COVID specifically, is that it really did highlight for us the importance of digital and social tools and keeping educators, families, and children connected during these times. Even though in early ed, we're kind of like anti-screen for a lot of important reasons, but we found out not incorporating it wouldn't help us in the long run. And so during our time, again, to create kind of more trusted channels and get people connected during our closure, we created an at-home learning library for everyone. So this is free and accessible to anyone, not just those who are enrolled in our schools, but to anyone with children 0 to 5 that might be in need and looking for fun and age-appropriate activities. We have each week comes with a theme. Each day comes with new activities. And then as you scroll down, we've also created an online classroom, which was built from 2 of our teachers that have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of age-appropriate and engaging games and lessons that adults and children can do together. And it comes with video guidance from our teachers as well. And then we've been able to, through the closures, collect an entire library of videos from music teachers and others engaging in music lessons and really interactive lessons as well, which then this kind of down here is not looking so great. But then we've also divided out all of this activities by music, movement, STEAM, language, and circle time.
Amanda, in the interest of time,
Yep.
I wanted to see if we could wrap this up.
Sure. Yeah, this is, like I said, this is my last slide. So then the one thing so I've shown you the online classroom. Our Facebook page also proved to be a really great place to do live lessons and bring people in on real time, just kind of like we're doing today. And then we've also developed this COVID resources page, which again, to provide a sense of explanation and go-to for everyone who works in our schools, that provides every piece of communication and every update that we've sent since the moment we've been closed, and provides, again, easy channels and resources for early educators to seek additional help, whether it's training or with emotional and health support as well.
Thank you so much. Really great presentation. And as Amanda mentioned early on, she has forwarded a copy of the presentation with the hyperlinks embedded in it that we can share out after this meeting, especially to anybody who has registered their attendance. Corinne, did we have anything come in for questions or dialogue at this point from either yourself or from the Facebook side?
Yes, so we do have a question for our previous speaker, Pedro Altagracia. Do you anticipate being able to overcome social distancing challenge with advocacy work this fall? Pedro, are you there?
Pedro is definitely still here.
Just ran to the restroom. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So we have a question for you. Do you anticipate being able to overcome social distancing challenges with advocacy work this fall?
Absolutely. It's quite funny because we've had to kind of reimagine and redesign community engagement at New Futures, which is something that we've really kind of taken a lot of pride on, but we've had to reimagine because as a community engagement coordinator, I can't be in the community, which is certainly very helpful, making personal relationships and really understanding the stories and the narratives that come from a lot of these lived experiences that we are championing ourselves. But I also can't necessarily engage them because for a while, the legislative session, in which we moved to with the rhythm of the legislative session, has certainly been kind of paused. You know, this legislative session in particular was, frozen because we were dealing with something that we have never dealt with before, and we really couldn't forecast the long-term future because there were so many short-term demands and needs. So as far as advocating and social distancing, what we're doing is we're providing a lot of the trainings that we've already been doing virtually through webinars, or even if there is, for example, one or two people who are very interested in learning how to equip themselves with the information and the education necessary to really kind of sail through the legislative process, knowing how to communicate with their legislators, and also just kind of knowing when the public hearings are being held. I'd be more than happy, and I'm kind of responsible for it in New Futures, connecting with those people. So I can be able to do one-on-one trainings or 2-on-3, or even just host organizational wide advocacy training opportunities so that people can, learn how to advocate within their homes. And advocacy in general already in New Hampshire is fairly remote. You can just call your legislator, you can exchange emails and do FaceTime oftentimes. I'm pretty sure that it's not kosher yet to have coffee face-to-face, but there's a lot of times that people have offered to say, hey, let's have coffee together virtually. And that's the thing that we're trying to really kind of encourage, is people to still continue to have the passion to advocate and connect with legislators, even though they can't necessarily show up at the State House. The State House is trying to find ways to keep their process going no matter what. So we want the constituencies to also be aligned and at the same page with the State House and the opportunities that they're trying to provide for people to remotely advocate within a safe distance.
Thank you very much. We had a question asked and answered in the chat, just to repeat it for everyone here. The question was, any sense of the emotional health of the children after reopening? This was directed towards Amanda Goodwin. Amanda, would you mind repeating your answer?
No, not at all. So happily, the children have come back and seemed really well adjusted. The most often response that we're fielding from families right now is that they're seeing improved moods when their kids both are dropped off and picked up from school. It's probably not a surprise that after months and months of quarantine, kids are really happy to be with other kids and to be with their teachers as well. So while everybody was super anxious that actually drop-offs would be terrible, because if you think about the start of the school year, there's usually a lot of separation anxiety that comes with kids either beginning early education or coming back after a summer break. And we've actually seen far less, and we kind of think that's attributed to the new ways that we do pickup and drop-offs. It's easier and it's better for both families and teachers. So there may be some learnings about COVID of how to improve systems that we've been using for a long time.
Thank you. There are no further questions at this time.
Thank you for your answer, Amanda, and Jay for your question. And what I should point out to everybody is when the chat is not visible on the Facebook live feed, the only thing that's visible on the Facebook live feed is the picture of the smiling person in front of you as they talk, or the presentations being shared. So repeating those questions and answering them verbally out loud is very helpful for anybody who's watching on Facebook. I also love that question because it's a great segue to our next speaker, who is Gail Casey. Gail is the director of the 21st Century After School program here in Nashua, and is preparing for reopening, whatever that might mean in her world. So Gail, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a couple of words.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike said, I oversee the 21st Century Extended Day programs for the Nashua School District. I thought for the purposes of this audience that I would start out with sort of a macro approach to after-school programs, especially as it relates to education. So 21st Century, for those of you who don't know, is a federal resource. It's a grant. They're typically held under school districts. So in New Hampshire, there are 36 21st Century programs all over the state. Nashua is one of the larger ones, as well as Manchester. And what the intent for 21st Century programs is to lengthen the school day so that it's a lot of project-based learning types of things. So the focus of 21st Century programs across the country and across New Hampshire are really to focus on encouraging students to do well academically. We operate in the poorest schools. So in Nashua, we operate in the 7 poorest elementary schools and serve about 900 students a year. We also oversee the 21st Century Extended Day, and the YMCA Greater Nashua collaborate to offer the Power Scholars Academy, which is a summer school program, typically serving about 500 students in the summer, although this last program was held remotely and has only been serving about 80 students. So where we would normally serve about 480 to 500 students, we are only serving 80 students, which gives you an indication of the burnout that families are having from doing some of this remote instruction. Kids and parents alike are really struggling with having to keep up with working from home, as well as providing the space and resources for their own children to be learning remotely as well. At the state level, New Hampshire After School Network, I'm a member of their board. A lot of the youth serving agencies across New Hampshire are really grappling with how to best serve families and students in this climate. And it really is different depending on where you are in New Hampshire. Very similarly to what Pedro was saying earlier, it's going to be dependent on your community and what the resources and what your school district is able to provide to students and families. So that's kind of where things are at the state level. I will say the DOE is being very accommodating to districts as they're trying to roll out what their plans are for the fall. You know, I think everyone was hoping that the governor, when he rolled out what was going to happen, what the expectations were with the commissioner, what that program would look like. I think people thought they were going to have some concrete answers. And New Hampshire is a state that prides itself on having local control. And I think it was a smart move for the governor and the commissioner to say, all right, yes, we're going to give you some guidance, but you know your own communities. For example, out in Danbury, New Hampshire, there are no cases of COVID compared to somewhere like Nashville, where we do have some concerns there. So I think that for all after school programs, as well as districts, school districts, it's really important to kind of know your community and know who's at risk and what your resources might be. That said, it kind of segues into the next section of what I wanted to talk about, which has more to do with Nashua in particular. Many of you know this, the Board of Ed reviewed a proposal put together by a task force. In addition to the task force, which had about 40 people on it, there were also 16 subcommittees. So about 200 people came together to really articulate what needed to be considered when putting together a proposal to reopen. The final draft of what was submitted to the Board of Ed and what was approved last week is on the district's website. If you're interested in kind of understanding what that looks like, I highly encourage people to go check it out. It's very long, but it'll probably be faster for you to read through that than it would be to watch the 3-hour board meeting that is also available on YouTube as well. I've watched and read both of the documents. I think you can get more if you read the document, but by all means, there were some really good questions brought up during the Board of Ed meeting. So if you wanted to watch either of those, we can send out links to those that can be found on the Nashua School District website, as well as the YouTube channel, Eye on Education. In addition to that, parents were now being given a survey. It goes on, it's happening right now, and it will end on Friday. Now, the survey allows for families to determine whether or not they want to maintain a remote schedule from September 8th through January 4th. If a family says that's what they want to do, they'll not be able to change their mind, because all of the resources such as transportation, teachers, space, PPE, all of that is being determined as a response to the results in this survey. The second option for families is to choose to do the hybrid option. I am a parent of 2 children in the Nashua School District. I am choosing the hybrid option for anybody who's interested. What that means is that everybody will be remote on September 8th, but then October 4th, students whose parents have selected the hybrid option will take and go attend school twice a week, but only for a half day. So however you look at this, students are going to be working remotely for 3 days a week, even in the hybrid model, through January 4th. The bad part of this is that this is not obviously good for families. It's very concerning for teachers who are not prepared and don't have childcare available to them. But where we are under the guidance of the Board of Education, as well as the Superintendent of the Nashua Public Schools, this was their determination. My hope is that if we do follow this, and maybe in January, things will be a lot better and we can all go back to school the way we want to. The other things I want to just point out, I think that we learned a lot in the spring in the Nashua School District. They've done some things that I thought were very smart. One of those things is they're offering webinars now for families so that they know how to navigate some of this technology. I myself had a lot of trouble getting, and I'm not like really good with technology, but I can read and follow directions. And I struggled a lot with being able to log in and out and being able to get all of the different usernames and passwords for all these websites for my first grader, right? So I think that it was a really smart decision for the district to not only are they going to publish all of the schedules so that youth serving agencies in the community, such as PAL or the Boys and Girls Club or Girls Inc., they can support students during these times when students are out of school doing remote instruction, because everything will be posted for them. There will also be webinars for families who are struggling to know how to navigate some of those systems. So I thought that was a really smart shift in the district's thinking. Additionally, there are going to be opportunities for students to meet their teachers, but remotely. And that's a really good thing for our families, especially the kindergarten kids, because this is supposed to be their first time entering into public education. It's a challenging transition as it is. So I was pleased to hear that the district had made some modifications so that new students, specifically the kindergartners, will have an opportunity to see their teachers, even if it's just virtually before the start of school. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about today is my program. I oversee the 21st Century Extended Day program. This year we have, I think flexibility is the name of the game right now. You have to be able to operate remotely in a way that you can shift into an in-person program. But then as soon as a student is sick or a staff member is sick, you have to be able to switch it right back to a remote model with very little prep time. And so our program is going to be remote. The Nashua School District has deemed that no volunteers, partners, or parents are allowed in any of the school buildings under any of the models. So that for us, where we oversee after school, is a challenge. We have a lot of partners who come and work with our kids. And then also with parent pickup, not having parents be able to even come into the building, that poses some different challenges as it will be getting dark out sooner. Inclement weather happens, we know, in winter. So there's a lot of challenges with that. So we do have a program that's designed to operate remotely. We're using different research and evidence-based curriculums. We'll be putting together enrichment bags of materials so that parents don't have to worry that they won't have the materials they need. The program will be completely free, and we will gauge interest by doing surveys for all the students that attend the 7 schools we operate in. This could shift. I mean, I'm hoping that we'll be able to sort of, as schools feel more prepared or in a position to reopen, we may see some schools opening up faster than others. So if you look at, Mount Pleasant Elementary School, it has under 300 students at it. that attend. But if you look over at Fairgrounds Elementary, that school has over 500 students. So their needs and how they operate are going to be different across the 17 schools in the city. So I think their model is relatively smart given all of the challenges that they have. And we're just being prepared to offer. I mean, I guess the other thing I would say is that the focus for us and even for the school district is to make sure our students are doing well. A lot of them have been cooped up in their homes for a very long time and are going to struggle with coming back and being prepared to follow directions of somebody other than their parents or whoever's living with them. We also want to make sure that we're addressing this huge summer learning gap, because typically in summer months, it's about a 2-month slide. It happens for all students, but this slide is going to be something that is unprecedented. Mike Appleberg is actually working with myself as well as Adam Marcoux from the Teachers Union to put together an opportunity to identify volunteers with academic skill sets that can come provide tutoring for our students. We're still working that out, but you'll see some information about how people can be involved because the needs of our students is going to be much broader than what our teachers are able to do. It's just, we know that, so we want to position our students to be as successful as possible given the circumstances. And then lastly, obviously, we want to be there for our families as much as possible. I think what we've been doing in 21st Century is identifying relationships that already exist. And so if I have a staff member who has great relationships with specific families, I may not tell that staff member to call everybody. I may say, hey, can you check on your families that we're more concerned about? Because there is a trust issue there where if they may not tell you what they need, they may not even realize that they have a need in some instances. So making sure that we're maintaining those relationships that we have with students and families is a really big priority for us as well. And I just rattled off lots of information. I can certainly answer any questions if anybody has them. Oh, thank you for posting. Mike just put the reopening plan in the chat box, links to that. And that is all I have.
Corinne, do you see any questions? Or Samantha, do you see any questions over from Facebook?
Yes, directed towards both Amanda and Gail. What are the schools doing to help special needs kids?
You want to go first, Amanda? Go ahead.
Sure. So we, as far as, it depends on what special needs is defined and what those needs specifically are. We do still, both in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, Department of Early Education or Department of Early Education allows for specialists to be brought in directly with those children, especially if those services were being provided before. So we haven't changed in that. It's one of the few things that hasn't directly changed. The additional services, if we don't provide them on site, the specialist can still come in to the school and work with that student one-on-one. It's just the setting in which they work with that child is different. So that specialist wouldn't go into the same room with all of the rest of the kids for the entirety of her visit, but they would work with that direct child in a room that isn't open for general use right now.
Thank you very much. Gail, do you have a response as well?
Sure. So I mean, I can't speak to it as well as like a Daniel Alexander could do it. He and Marcia Bagley do a lot with the students who have special needs in our district. I do know that they did operate their summer program. They did it remotely. They did portions of it in person. I did hear that it was very difficult for them to find staff that were qualified to do the work. A lot of them felt very uncomfortable coming back into the schools. I don't think this is the last we hear of that. So there's going to be some major challenges coming back. You might be able to hear my children in the background. I don't know what they're doing. The other thing I would say is that I think it's a little bit difficult, and I think people want answers on questions like this, but I would say that bringing it back to the relationships with the principal and their faculty and their students, schools are a community. And so the needs of every single student are within that school community. So to make a broad statement like this is what we're going to do to help our students with special needs. It's not going to fit every student's circumstance. So I can say that within these school communities, the faculty and the leadership are communicating very regularly with students who and their families that fit into these categories to make sure that they have what they need and to do whatever they can to get them the resources they need. That is a priority. But if you're not going to see a blanket answer because the needs of every student are just so different, similar to what Amanda said, the context in which some of this work is being done is going to be different. So without having some kind of, we can't provide a blanket answer. It is going to be very individual, I think, for every student.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, if you wouldn't mind posting your questions into the links that we gave you, because things can get lost in the chat and we don't want to miss any questions. So we would really appreciate that. And that's all the questions that we have at this time.
Very good. Then I'm going to turn it over to our final speaker, Justin Cates, to round this out. And while Justin is speaking, in addition to listening to Justin, which I'm sure everybody will do, I would also encourage you to think about when you introduce yourself after Justin, that you try to do that in a way that can be concise and limited to 30 seconds, no more, about your program and any specific, very urgent things that you think that this entire group should know about you and your programming. Justin, the floor is yours.
So I'll actually be starting this presentation. So we are the Office of Emergency Management, and we're here to talk about what we have done and what we are currently doing to help in this time during the pandemic. Next slide, please. So I will now turn it over to Justin Cates.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Justin Cates, Director of Emergency Management for the City of Nashua. And we just wanted to give a quick overview of some of the work that we've been doing here within the community and working in conjunction with the nonprofits to really lead this unprecedented response to COVID-19. Many of you have participated in the Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, the VOAD, in years past. And, the purpose of the VOAD, it's a national initiative to try and bring nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and emergency management together to better respond to a disaster. And the idea is that by working together, we're most likely to be able to accomplish those missions versus every independent organization doing their own thing. And we've had this up and running for a number of years. And during the Resilient Nashua initiative that took place back in 2018, this group went really on a hiatus because we didn't want to have duplicative meetings. But all the work that had been done to really bring those groups together and connect them with emergency management really paid off during COVID-19. I was really happy to see everybody really come together and work towards the common mission of helping the community out. And many of the folks here on this call, many that are not on this call, have been a part of that VOAD initiative in the past, have attended the meetings, are on our distribution list where we send out emergency notifications and provide them insight as to what's going on during a community. So this is definitely something that we thought we could build upon moving forward after COVID-19. So Elise Butterworth from our office is going to talk a little bit about what has happened with nonprofits in this overall community effort.
Thank you, Justin. So Justin mentioned that everybody worked so well together during COVID-19, and it started with community organization calls as part of our community distribution task force. And at this time, I want to just give a special thank you to Community Development Director Sarah Marchant, who took the lead on all of those calls and that task force. She did a great job. All of those were done by the city and community in general for the first time during coronavirus. All of the community relationships that have been built prior to coronavirus prior made it much easier to respond to this emergency. We want to keep this momentum going by having a quarterly community connections forum that will continue to build on resources as well as relationships, and will use this coalition to lead future response and recovery in the greater Nashua community. We're also prepared to restart the weekly community organization meetings if needed. And with that, I will give back over to Corinne.
Thank you very much. So for volunteering, here we have a graph of our volunteer data. As you can see on the x-axis, it shows the date and it goes by week of when the volunteering occurred, starting from March 1st all the way to August 1st. And this tracks the number of hours, so not the number of volunteers, but the hours served. And it's broken down by organization, as you can see with the color-coded key on the side. Next slide, please. So we've been conducting after action interviews with local nonprofits to gauge what they have done during the pandemic that is different, or maybe what they have done that is the same. And we're asking questions such as, you know, what has gone well, what hasn't, and what resources would have been helpful to you, and things to help us gather information should there be a second wave or just another emergency. And we can analyze trends from that and learn and be able to prepare much better should the need arise. Next slide, please. So we're also creating a community connections database, and this would be a database of nonprofits, municipalities, and people in the community who would be helpful during a disaster. So we're in the process of gathering information from those people, similar to the VOAD, but the difference is this would be community-led rather than government-led. And this could be used, again, either during this pandemic or future emergencies. Next slide, please. So we have the Resilient Nashua Toolkit. This is not something new. We have had this for a very long time, and it's an excellent resource to any organization or just any person who is looking to prepare for an emergency. It's written in language that's easy enough to understand with no background knowledge of emergency management, and it really goes through the steps of how to create an emergency plan and what to do in case of an emergency. And it's got resources from FEMA, the Insurance Institute for Building and Home Safety, and other really great organizations. So for COVID-19, we're adding information specific to the pandemic and, you know, how to go through things that are relevant right now. And as I said, this is for anyone to use. Next slide, please. So another project that we're working on is case management. So we're looking at what the unmet needs of the community are and how to connect them to the people who could provide resources for them. So it's basically a question of connecting people to either nonprofits or government agencies that can help them with whatever their unmet need may be. It could be clothing, food, sanitization products, anything like that. And this is specifically for people who are in quarantine or self-isolation and do not have the ability to go out and get these things for themselves. And so we're sort of leveraging the Community Connections database to connect and serve those cases. Next slide, please. So for the future, looking ahead, we will be having this very meeting quarterly, and this will help us to both, as Mike has previously mentioned, network, which is a very important tool in emergencies. And we will also be using things like the Connection Slack, which we hope you will all utilize and take advantage of, because we're hoping to really bring the community together during a disaster because it can't be done alone. And with that, I will hand it back over to Justin.
Perfect. Thank you, Corinne. So as both Corinne and Elise mentioned, there's been a lot of work that's been done over the past few months to bring the community together to respond to COVID-19. There's also been a lot of great work to try and figure out what our next steps are for the potential for a future wave. Regardless of what ends up happening with COVID-19, we really want to use the momentum that's been built upon this specific incident to help prepare us for everything from a small house fire that needs assistance for unmet needs all the way through something that impacts the entire city. I think the work that Corinne and Tara and Charlotte have been doing as part of their AmeriCorps service has been a great opportunity to build some capacity in these areas and to help organizations, nonprofits in the community build this network that they can rely on during an emergency. So if you're a nonprofit or another community organization that's interested in participating in this, you're really already doing the first thing by participating in these quarterly calls. But if you'd like us to speak with you about what can be improved or how things went during coronavirus initial response, we can schedule an interview with you and your team. We can add your information to the database, and we can also make sure that you're connected into that Community Connections Slack and assist you through the Resilient Nashua Toolkit in improving your emergency plans and your continuity plans, especially as we look into the fall. This is our contact information, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
And there are no current questions at this time.
Well, thank you so much, Justin and team. We really appreciate the excellent information. And along with the other presentations, yours will be sent out to anybody who's registered themselves as a participant today. Not sure who's doing the screen sharing right now, but if you wouldn't mind just sending it back, there we go, so we can see everybody.
Just to interrupt, we
Yes.
do have one question that has come in.
Oh, late breaking news.
I know. How can social organizations be of assistance, such as Rotary or Lions Club or the like, for the VOAD?
It's a great question. So those groups, they're almost kind of coalitions of coalitions. So what's neat about those groups like the Rotary or Kiwanis or Lions is they have many connections out into the community with businesses and other nonprofits that may be able to assist. So certainly we'd like to try and have their contact information in the database at a minimum. We see this being a situation where if we've got some sort of a major incident that's occurring in the city, we can send out a request to this database or post it up on the Community Connections Slack to say, hey, we need this, or we need this skill. And participants from the Lions or from the Rotary might be able to also share that with their membership, and we might be able to find that resource that we're looking for during a disaster.
Are there any other questions?
No, does not appear so.
Okay. So I want to go down to the next section of the agenda, which is really just a quick, very rapid fire round robin of introductions. I'm going to call out your name, and when you hear that, please unmute yourself. What I would ask is after you have introduced yourself, please type into the chat your name and email so that if anybody wants to connect with you right away, they can see what that was immediately. I presume everybody has also logged in as a guest, but this will give everybody the opportunity for an immediate follow-up. So again, unmute yourself and type in the chat your name would be fantastic. We've already heard from Amanda and Justin, and we heard a little bit from Elise, but I'm going to start with Elise.
Okay. My name is Elise Butterworth. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for Nashua Office of Emergency Management. I'm relatively new, so I'm still getting to know a whole bunch of everybody, but I've been working with Mike and everybody during COVID-19, and it's been fantastic, and I love working here so far, so I will put my email in the chat, and feel free to contact me with any questions or anything at all.
Thank you so much, Elise. I have Beth's iPad. So if you are Beth's iPad, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Beth Tajam. I am retired, but I am still interested in what's going on in the community. And this seemed like a great way to kind of reconnect with some of the people I knew when I was working at Southern New Hampshire Services, and maybe meet some new people as well.
Thank you, Beth. I have Amir Tusi.
Hey everyone, my name is Amir Tusi. I'm Dean for Division of Business at Rivier University, and I am interested in everything that has been discussed and helping out the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. I have next up, Paula.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paula Moran. I'm on the board of directors at the United Way. I work at BAE Systems, and this just seemed like a fantastic opportunity to hear about what else is going on out in the community and how everything is so well integrated. So thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Please remember to put your email address in the chat. Ardith Kirschberger. Hello, Ardith. Would you mind unmuting yourself and introducing yourself? Okay, we'll skip over you and come back at the end. How about Becky Gagne?
Hi, my name is Becky Gagne. I work for the Front Door Agency. We provide assistance to individuals and families who experience any kind of crisis. We provide assistance with rent, security deposits, housing. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. So all of our applications are available online now. So please have anyone that's in need of assistance, just refer them straight to our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Next, I have Beth Covino from the YMCA.
Good afternoon. Thank you. The big news for us right now is we're going to be starting the YMCA Educational Academy to help parents navigate what's going to be going on with remote learning. It is a full day program running from 8 to 5:30 p.m. when school starts. We will have financial assistance for families that need help. We're expecting to help 200 children through this program. We'll have that level of registration available to begin with. We're going to be working with Bell Excel to provide in-person curriculum using literature, art, STEM, mathematics, other things. We'll obviously have staff available to help kids with their online learning and make sure that they get their homework done. So again, registration is open for this. You can go to our website for more information or call Sarah Sutherland at the YMCA, the Nashua branch of the YMCA, if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Beth. Next,
Thank you.
Next, I have Betsy Hood.
Hi, I'm Betsy Hood. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships in the Legacy Trust for Southern New Hampshire Health. And I'm excited to be here really to listen about what kinds of ways Southern may be able to help the community, but also how the community may be able to help us in terms of helping our patients achieve optimal health. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy, and thank you for being a partner with the Community Connections Forum as well. I have Brenda Collins.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda. I'm with the Hudson Chamber of Commerce, the Executive Director here. We work with our businesses as an advocate, but also to provide resources. So this is a great collaboration to find out more of the resources that we can share with all the businesses in our community. And I'll put my name and address in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you also for being an anchor partner in the forum. Next, we have Carol Iman.
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I am Nani. I am a retiree, and I am trying my best through some of the organizations in the community as a member of the Main Street United Methodist Church. I am on the Mayor's Cultural Connections Committee, representing the Nashua Area Interfaith Council on behalf of the President. And I have my project that is still ongoing, that is part of the Cafe Agape group that we were operating at the Main Street United Methodist Church. That is for everybody in the community, irrespective of who they are, or where they come from, or whatever they are coping with. The spirituality group, we still meet every week online. It has continued to be ongoing. We did not stop. And we have a new pastor. Our former pastor has retired and left, Pastor Rich. Our new pastor is Reverend Kelly Tony, and she is quite active. So she's inviting people in the community to join her as those who are still able are able to walk on the trails with her. So they are getting to enjoy Nashua.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nani. I'm going to ask now, we have Carol Iman.
Hi, I'm Carol Iman from the Nashua Public Library. And I just want to make sure you know that we are open on a limited basis. We have curbside pickup, or you can come in the building to pick up items you've put on hold. We have displays you can look at. You can't go into the stacks, but you can have the librarian go find a book for you. People can use our computers, fax, and photocopy machines. The computers, you do need an appointment. And we've expanded our books by mail program to anyone over 60, so who may have concerns about coronavirus. They are eligible for books by mail, which is a free service.
Thank you so much, Carol. Next, I have Carrie Skina.
Hi, this is Carrie Skina. I'm with the City of Nashua Urban Programs Department, which is part of community development. We generally oversee the HUD funding that comes into the city. So with that money, we gear it toward low to moderate income beneficiaries. We do that through business assistance, assisting the nonprofits. We have a lead paint and a housing rehab program, which is both for rental units and owner occupied. And then we also have a good pot of money that goes out to affordable housing development. So if you have clients in need of any of those services, we would encourage you to send them our way.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Next, I have Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Perry. I'm one of the AmeriCorps members working with the Nashua Department of Emergency Management for the summer. So if you have any questions or want to schedule an after-action interview for your organization, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. We've already heard from Corinne. I'm going to go to Dahlia next. I would remind everybody, please try and limit your remarks to 30 seconds.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dahlia Daigle. I'm the Food Service Director, K through 12 for the Nashua School District. I'm basically here just to, we're trying to feed as many kids as we can during this pandemic. So just trying to build partnerships, and please reach out to me if you have any questions or want to follow up.
Thank you, Dahlia. And if everybody could remember to please put your email in the chat after you introduce yourself. Next, I have Donna.
Hi, this is Donna Marceau from the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter. I run the Employment and Education Program, and I also run a Exuda program, which is a no-cost $600 loan to people in need. So my email is donna@nsks.org. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Donna. I have Alita Gagny.
Yep, you got it. That's right. Hi, everyone. Happy to be on the call. My name's Alita Gagny. I'm the program director for St. Joseph Community Services, and we're the provider of Meals on Wheels and community dining for all of Hillsborough County, New Hampshire. So for us, we've been extremely busy, and a lot has changed certainly in our world. So we are not actively running our community dining program. However, we are continuing to run our Meals on Wheels program, and our team, between a core group of staff and volunteers, are delivering to our clients, and not only delivering those much needed meals, but also still having the ability to check on the well-being of our clients during this critical time, which is so necessary. So certainly, if anyone has any questions regarding our program specifically, we're still taking new client referrals, and the best number for that is directly at our administrative office in Merrimack, New Hampshire, or have questions in terms of, we do have openings for paid drivers as well as volunteer drivers as well. So, and thanks to everyone for all of your work.
Thank you, Alita, for everything that you're doing. We've already heard from Gail. I would like to say then we have Galina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Galina Sokac. I am on the board of directors of United Way, and I work with Liz Fitzgerald on community assessment project. So I think that this forum can be very helpful to learn a real reality of community at certain time. So thank you for your effort.
Thank you, Galina. I have Germano next.
Hi, I'm Germano Martins from the Department of Health and Human Service. I represent the whole department and the community I am the person that goes to the rapid response when a business closes. We have a group of agencies, somebody from Employment Security, Labor, and I'm the HHS person there to help ameliorate the situation of being without a job. So I'm also attached to the Office of Health Equity, which is the old Office of Minority Health and Refugee Affairs. So I put my email address in the chat, and if you ever have any questions about anything about programs or the Department of Health and Human Service, how we do things nowadays, I'll be glad to engage with you offline or any way you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Germano. Now I have somebody here whose name is iPad, and I happen to know that that's actually my friend Tom Woodward. So Tom, you have to unmute yourself, please, Tom.
Now I think I can speak. I'm Reverend Tom Woodward. I'm a retired Presbyterian minister, and I represent from the Interfaith Council here in the city of Nashua. We are an interfaith council that brings people from all religious points of view together on a monthly basis for 9 months each year. And usually our programs deal with social issues in the community.
Thank you very much, Tom. Next person I have is Jane Goodman.
Hi, I'm late to the party. I signed up today to attend this.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am currently working at the Nashua Division of Public Health and Community Services. I was brought in as a communications specialist by the CDC Foundation. So I work very closely with Nicole Vio, who many of you probably know, that we do have a Friday correspondence around COVID and a community newsletter, and we do like to make sure we're on top of things in the community. So it's good to listen to this today. And if there's anything you want pushed out, we do reach about 700 people with that newsletter.
Thank you very much. Next person I have is Jay Minkara.
Hi, Jay Minkara, Executive Director of the Nashua Regional Planning Commission. We serve Nashua and the 12 surrounding communities, focusing mostly on transportation, environmental protection, and land use planning. Do a lot of data collection, a lot of mapping, and a lot of field work. So thanks for letting me participate today.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for being a partner in the Community Connections Forum. I now have next Jeannie Gagne.
Hi, Mike. So I'm Jeannie Gagne. I'm the program manager for the mobile health clinic at St. Joe's Hospital. We have great news that we are finally fully licensed to diagnose and treat out of the mobile clinic and to serve the greater Nashua area. I am in the process of writing a program that will best serve the community members in need. So more to come with that at the end of this year.
Thank you, Jeannie, and you are Community Connections Forum anchor partners as well, so thank you for that. Next, we have Jessica Martin.
Hi, I'm Jessica Martin. I'm the Director of Development and Marketing at Family Promise of Southern New Hampshire. We support homeless families through housing and also education. We also have a diversion program. So right now, since the moratorium on evictions has expired, we're seeing an influx of applications for homeless families. So we are actually leaving our space at Anne Marie House. We're planning to be moving to Infant Jesus School in Nashua. We're undergoing a large capital campaign right now, and we're taking those applications and we're using a diversion program and sending them to other programs that fit the needs of these applications that we're receiving right now. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And thank you for organizing this. It's nice to see all of you.
Thank you. And I'm looking at everybody's face and I can see that everybody's reaching for their wallet to help you out with your capital campaign. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We have Jonathan Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Jonathan Brown. I'm the Clinic Director of Harbor Care Health and Wellness Center, a program of Harbor Care, formerly known as the Partnership for Successful Living. We're located downtown Nashua, providing on-site and telehealth services right now. We offer primary care, behavioral health, other community services, including a mobile crisis response team, housing, education, employment, and more. If we can partner, collaborate, or assist any of your clients in any way within the community, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Joseph Leahy.
Hi, I'm Joe Leahy. I'm the medical director of the emergency department at Southern Hampshire Medical Center. It's been a whirlwind over the past few months, but it's great that we've had such a great and strong community. Mike, thank you for putting this together. I look forward to working with people.
Thank you, and thank you for your service to the community. We really appreciate that. We have next Julie Chismas.
Hi there, I'm Julie Chismas. I work for the City of Nashua in community development, working directly for Sarah Marchand. I've been involved in COVID. Basically, I also do GIS, so I've been working on some of the maps showing all the wonderful resources that you all are providing, in particular the food resources. And I also tend to do a lot of grant support. So if you guys need some data or some information to support a grant, let me know. Will put my email information in the chat pod. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Julie. We have Kate Lusko.
There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate Lesko. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Nashua Chamber of Commerce. Just joined shortly after the first of the year, so it's been quite a whirlwind in that time. We do serve Nashua and 10 other surrounding communities and are really here to be a partner in the community as with a program like this. So if there's ever anything that we can do for you or your organization, I hope that you'll reach out. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you for being a partner with the forum as well. Next, we have Kathy Farland.
Hello all, my name is Kathy Farland, and we are working on opening a homeless youth drop-in center in Nashua for kids 12 to 25, be called Stepping Stones, and I'm really looking forward to working with everybody.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Kathy Hess.
Okay, hi. I'm a volunteer with United Way, and I'm working with seniors, and we're trying to unite seniors with things that they're passionate about. Right now, we're working on a project that will unite people in some nursing homes that are feeling very lonely and isolated with some of our volunteers by us making phone calls and becoming pen pals. In the books, we've had to postpone working on what's called a wash and read program. We'd like to bring early literacy into area laundromats by using the Clinton Foundation's wash and read program. And we've had to put that on hold due to COVID, but we'd like to resume that afterwards. And that's about it.
Thank you so much. We have next Kristen De La Rosa.
Hi there. Sorry, whatever. I'm Kristen. I work at Lamprey Healthcare. I'm the community health worker down here. We are another community health center in Nashua on Prospect Street next to Southern Hampshire Medical Center. And we have services at Lamprey. We have our Integrate program, where we have two primary care providers go down to Greater Nashua Mental Health and have primary care at that location. And most recently, we have a clinic at Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter every Wednesday from 2 to 6, which is a walk-in basis, and you don't need an appointment or anything like that. So that's us.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Lori Branchot.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Laurie Branchot. I work for Gateways Community Services in Nashua, and we offer many home and community-based programs and services to people in the area. I am the program manager for the Adult Day program located at the Elvern High School in Hudson, New Hampshire, and I am currently looking and working towards a safe reopening in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Leanne. Leanne, we'll come back to you. We have Liz Calabria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Calabria. I am the Events and Membership Coordinator for the Greater Merrimack-Sohegan Valley Chamber of Commerce. We merged with the Merrimack Chamber back in February, and then when the COVID hit, we became very active advocating for the members and providing the necessary support to help the businesses find the resources and assistance they need to thrive and survive, so to speak. So we are here and continue to go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you to you and the Chamber for being partners in the forum as well. Next, we have Lucille Jordan.
Hello, Lucille Jordan, President, Nashua Community College. And just real quick, I wanted to let everyone know that we have free tuition available for anyone who fills out a FAFSA. You don't have to, you just have to fill it out. You don't have to be eligible for financial aid. You need to fill it out. And if you were negatively impacted by COVID, you are eligible for free tuition. It could be full-time, part-time, for both credit and non-credit classes. I'll put my email in. Anyone you know who may be interested or you think would be able to take advantage of this, please let me know, because we're really pleased to be able to have these dollars to do this.
Thank you so much, Lucille. Next, I see Megan Karen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Karen. I am the director of the Arlington Street Community Center here in Nashua, Crown Hill. We are part of the city of Nashua. We work to eliminate any achievement gaps and barriers for folks through 4 different service areas. A lot has changed. Sorry?
Keep going.
Okay, so we are now offering virtual and to-go programming, which has been going really well. 2 of our biggest programs this fall, skill building and our pre-K readiness group are on hold for now. So we're just trying to figure out, how we can move forward in a realistic and feasible manner, if that's possible.
Thank you so much, Megan. We have Michael Apollo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Apollo, and I'm with the Office of Emergency Management in Nashua. Same as with Jane, I'm a CDC Foundation employee that's been supporting the city of Nashua. I really appreciate you all being on this call, and I look forward to utilizing these community connections in some of the work that I'm doing, both for our COVID-19 preparedness and extreme heat plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. We have next Pamela Davies.
Hi, I'm half employed by the city of Nashua and half by the Nashua School District as the grant writer, which is a really wide net to cast. So if anyone hears of any funding opportunities, I really appreciate those being sent my way so I don't miss them. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. Next, I see Paul Metzger on the line.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So I'm Paul Metzger. I'm the Southern New Hampshire coordinator for Team Rubicon. Team Rubicon, we're a nonprofit that leverages the skills and experience of military veterans and first responders to rapidly deploy emergency response teams. We were founded in 2010 following the devastating earthquake down in Haiti. Since then, we've deployed across the US and the world to provide immediate relief to people in the immediate aftermath of disasters and humanitarian crises. Quick numbers, in the past decade, we've responded to about 6 earthquakes, 44 hurricanes, 80 tornadoes, 64 wildfires, and 116 floods. I've personally deployed to 3 of those hurricanes down in Texas, North Carolina, and Florida, as well as down on Cape Cod for the tornadoes that ripped through there last year. So in chat, I'll put the web link for us, as well as my email. And if you need to reach out, please feel free.
Thank you, Paul. We really appreciate you joining us today. Rosemary Dykeman. Rosemary, I'm going to come back to you. You seem to be on mute. Let's try Rosemary Ford. Okay, we'll skip that too, and we'll come back to you as well. Samantha Casista.
Hi there, my name is Samantha Casista. I am president of the Souhegan Valley Rotary Club and vice president of Positive Street Art. Both really diverse organizations, but the things that they have in common are we're looking for volunteer opportunities always and partnership opportunities always. So please feel free to reach out to me. My email is samantha.casista@gmail.com. I already put it in the chat. And then for Rotary, we're looking for speakers to learn either in your location or in a virtual meeting about your organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha. Samantha was also the moderator for our Facebook page, so thank you for helping out with that today.
My pleasure.
Sandra DeLosa.
Hi, my name is Sandra DeLosa, and I'm the senior case technician for the City of Nashua Welfare Department. So we provide financial services such as rent, utilities, basic needs to Nashua residents, as well as emergency housing services to individuals and families facing homelessness.
Thank you so much. I see next Sandra Pratt.
Hi, everyone. I am Sandra Pratt. I'm also work for Gateways Community Services like Lori. She's on a call too. I work with the adult department with individuals with developmental disability. I thank for the opportunity. I'm here to collaborate with other organizations and see how the organizations, other organizations can collaborate with Gateways. And that's that. I will leave my email also on a group chat. Thank you so much, Mike, for all your efforts for arranging this, and for everybody else that is here also to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. I see Steve Vega. Steve might have stepped away. Last I have on the list is Tara Murphy.
Hi, I'm Tara. I am another one of the AmeriCorps members working with Justin in the Office of Emergency Management, doing the same stuff Charlotte and Corinne are doing. That's it.
Thank you so much, Tara. So now there were 4 or 5 people who we missed who hadn't unmuted themselves when we got to them. I'm going to run the risk of doing a very bad Zoom faux pas and asking you to introduce yourself, which probably means you'll end up speaking over each other. But let's give our best to not do that. If you didn't introduce yourself, please do so now.
Hi, everyone. This is Leanne Bauer from Marguerite's Place in MP Housing. Sorry, I couldn't get my mic on fast enough before. We provide transitional housing, and our phase 2 program, MP Housing, provides longer term, up to 5-year housing in Nashua. And we do have an application online now as well. And I did leave my name and contact info in the chat box.
Thank you, Leanne. Was there anybody else? Okay. Well, hearing nobody, I'm going to say I think we're pretty much done with the round robin. And we still have remarkably about 50 people with us today. It was a really great session. I hope everybody got something good out of it. I see Ardith Kirschberger is saying her microphone is broken. Her name is Ardith Kirschberger. I'm reading this for the Facebook, just so you know. I'm the owner of Speakeasy Speech Therapy, here to collaborate and connect with the community to let people know about the private services that I offer and to help adults and kids in the community reach their full communication potential. Ardith at speakeasylp.net. So thank you for joining us, Ardith. Our next meeting, I mentioned earlier on, our next meeting we're planning on Community Connections is going to be in November 10th. The way we've set up the schedule for this is knowing that everybody has like that one day a week when you can't make it, or sometimes more than that. We've set it up so it's rotating. So today's meeting, obviously it's a Monday. Next time we meet will be a Tuesday, the following meeting after that, a Wednesday, and then after that, a Thursday. Always going to be 1 to 3 p.m. and then we'll rotate it back to Monday so that hopefully either yourself or somebody from your organization will be able to participate. We will always try to remember to record these meetings. We will always try to publish them also on Facebook simultaneously. And we will also always try to take attendance so that people can know who is participating and have your contact information. I would like to personally thank my colleague Liz. I was negligent in not doing that in the beginning. My colleague Liz Fitzgerald did yeoman's work in putting this together. Basically, I said, here's the idea, and she ran with it. And I am just unbelievably grateful for her taking on the heavy lift along with our volunteers from AmeriCorps for doing really a lot of work to put this together. So we'll be again together on November 10th, which is a Tuesday, 1 to 3 p.m. The theme then will be economic and financial stability, and we'll be coming out shortly with a list of panelists as we get closer to that. with that, I would thank everybody for having participated today and hope everybody has a fantastic week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Organizing, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It was good.